And just like that, we're back. That's right, Live All Good podcast listeners. Move the Needle monthly episodes are back on track, so stay tuned to see what we cover with this episode. Hey, Live All Good podcast listeners. I want to thank you for your patience over the last couple months. Our apologies that we could not and did not provide new episodes over the last couple months. But just know that the Move the Needle podcast is back, and we will be continuing our monthly episodes. Over the last couple months, there have been a lot of things that have called our attention to more immediate needs. And so it was difficult to try to put an episode together that would provide the value and information that you all expect from Move the Needle. So again, our apologies for not having a new episode over the last couple months. With that being said, let's jump right into to what's going on today. I want to read something. This is from Emily McDowell. Finding yourself is not really how it works. You aren't a $10 bill in last winter's coat pocket. You are also not lost. Your true self is right there, buried under cultural conditioning, other people's opinions, and inaccurate conclusions you drew as a kid that became your beliefs about who you are. Finding yourself is actually returning to yourself, an unlearning, an excavation, a remembering who you were before the world got its hands on you. That was written by Emily McDowell. She is an illustrator, a speaker, a teacher, entrepreneur. She really is an all-around savant, if you will, because that's brilliant, right? But that's what I want to talk about. We've all been languishing for the last however many months, whether it's 18 months, 2 years. That's not the point. We've been during the pandemic. It is, and languishing is, let's define that real quick. It's either like being in a state of depression. Languishing is also defined as becoming dispirited, or decreased vitality, right? So, yes, I am with you all that we have all been languishing through the pandemic. And as we went through this, it's also been a period of awareness and of awakening. I think we're also now in a period of reckoning. And what do I mean by that? Being in a period of reckoning means we are trying to reconcile what we are now aware of with the amount of inequities that have been shown to us. One of the missions, if not the mission, of this Move the Needle podcast is simply that. Let's move the needle, or in other words, let's continue progress in no matter how small the step is, but let's continue progress in all facets of life. We have focused a lot on social justice and social inequities and the structural inequities that are in place. But I'd like to offer this type of mental shift, if you will. These structural inequities are in place, but we, the people, have the power to change that. But how do we change that? We first have to look in the mirror and reckon with what we're now aware of. So that means doing some deep inner work, and for some it might be deeper than others, in understanding what we thought we knew, what we learned, and being able to or come to terms with that might not be the entire truth. Yeah. Let's sit with that for a minute. That what we've learned and what we know and what we've based our belief systems on may not be the entire truth. That feels uncomfortable, doesn't it? It feels uncomfortable because what happens now is you question, are you the person you think you were? Are you really and I'm using air quotes here, are you really the good person that you've tried to be? Because now we have to really examine all of our thoughts and all of our actions and how they played a part in any of these inequities for anyone. Maybe even understanding how our thoughts and actions played a part in not serving ourselves. That's the difficult part. That's the challenging part. Understanding that our actions and our thoughts, our beliefs, rooted in what we thought we knew and what we were taught, which is a version of the truth, may have had some part to play in not just the social inequities, but in where we are, our lives, and who we are. So I'd like to also offer this, that while you are reconciling who you really are and what your actions and choices and thoughts have put out, that it's okay. It's okay. It's okay for it to be uncomfortable. Because in that discomfort, in that uncomfortable feeling, that's where the growth is going to happen, for you to open your mind to the possibility of what you learned is not wrong and what you believe is not wrong. But there's the possibility of differences that are also correct. There's so much talk about racial inequality and inequity. So much talk about gender inequality and inequity. Consider the fact that it's not either or. Consider the fact that it's not just black and white, or it's not just, politically, it's not just Democrat or Republican. Yes, that's what we've been taught. Yes, we've been, beat over the head with it's this or it's that. And what we struggle with is, okay, if I believe this, and now you're telling me that that is correct, then I must be wrong for believing this. Right? Does that sound familiar? And if that's too vague, let me put it in these terms. When we're talking about social inequality, you may have been taught that, as long as I work hard and do my best, there's always going to be an opportunity for me. Now, that is true. That is a true statement. But what is also true is there are systems in place that make it harder for many types of people, not just black and brown people, but people with disabilities, people with a different language than English as their first language, and even women. There are systems in place that make it much more difficult for these people to have the opportunities to do their best, work hard, and have these opportunities without things being in their way. That is also a true statement. It's also a true statement that when we talk about gender, right? We've been taught, either you're a boy or you're a girl. You're a man or you're a woman. Now, for the sake of this conversation, we are operating from the paradigm that gender is not sexual orientation. Gender is not sexual preference. While those are related, that is not gender. So while we may have been taught that, and I'm using a buzzword here in binary, but that's just to illustrate that we were taught that gender is a two-system thing, is a binary thing. You're either boy or girl. When in fact, it is also true that you may not feel, or a person may not feel and identify with the physical and physiological gender that their body shows. That is okay. That is okay. The point that I'm trying to make is that now is a time for awakening, awareness, and reckoning that all of these things can be true and all of them are okay to coexist. That's why I read that piece from Emily McDowell. Because finding yourself is the absolute truth. Not based on the life experiences that have piled on top of who you really are. Finding yourself is going back to who you were before these biases in these systems, before they jaded your thought process, before they helped disconnect your intuition from your mind. That's what I offer you. Now is the time to fully embrace what difference and diversity is all about. It is absolutely uncomfortable to try and understand someone who is not like you. It's absolutely uncomfortable. But understanding someone who is not like you also breeds greatness. Understanding someone who is not like you allows you to celebrate and learn from the differences so that we can bring forth the best things of those differences. But because of the uncomfortable feeling that we have to sit with, it's easier to try to point out the negative things of our differences. It's easier to say that, oh, well, you're not like me, so I'm right and you're wrong. That's so much easier to do because that allows us to put the blame somewhere else. That allows us to not take ownership of our own actions and our own thoughts and really find out what part we have to play in either perpetuating a system that says it has diversity and inclusion and equity, or really getting to the truth of, do our actions really match closely with what our words are? Yeah, you got to sit with that for a minute. How closely do your actions and your words match? And if they don't, I encourage you not to judge yourself for that. But now that you're aware, explore why your actions and your words don't match as closely as possible. Explore if you say you believe in diversity. Explore if you say you believe in inclusion. But what do your actions show? Do your actions show that you really do believe in inclusion? And that you believe in having equitable opportunities for everyone? And if you do, then your actions have to show that, if that's what you truly believe. Even if it's uncomfortable for you to unlearn some things that you learned years ago. As Emily McDowell put it, before life circumstances got a hold of you. And I'm paraphrasing with that. But I'd like to leave you with that. Make sure that you are not judging yourself harshly, because we're all human. We're all human. But the one thing that can be looked at as a positive over the last 18 months to 2 years is that the light has been shined on some of the deepest, darkest corners of what we thought to be true. And it really shined a light on the real truth, the whole story of things. And I'm not just speaking about social inequities. In your own life, it could have really shined a light on some deep, dark, uncovered corners that you thought were not there. I encourage you to explore those and really find out who you are. Who are you once you peel away the bias of life? Once you start peeling away these levels of, well, this person, nope, it's not about anyone else. Peel away all the layers of what you think you're supposed to say and what you think you're supposed to be. And look for that core truth of what you really believe. That's what Moving the Needle is about. That's what Move the Needle podcast is trying to provide. The evidence and also the safe space of how we move forward together, how we can prosper, how we get to the source of what all this distracting noise is, of what all these actions and choices that we think are simply abominable. How could someone do this? How could anyone do that? Why does this thing keep happening? If we're able to look inside individually and really find that source of who we are, who we were, and who we're going to be, that's moving the needle. And that's what this podcast is about also. Helping you uncover those things, helping you explore those things without judgment, so that we can begin to truly create this world that is meant to be equitable for all. So lastly, I invite you to leave a comment. I invite you to send a message. It could be a voice message. It could be an email. But I invite you to let me know how this sets with you. Let me know what your truth is. Let me know what you're trying to uncover. How many layers do you have to peel back? How deeply is it rooted of what you thought was true? And what truth are you actually getting to? So stay tuned, folks, because we are, like I said, we're going to continue our monthly series of Moving the Needle, and we will continue to cover some heavy topics. We'll cover what it's like to, we'll cover what it's like to really dig in and be uncomfortable with standing up for what's right. We're going to cover some things about the Reconstruction era so that we can fully understand why we cannot fail right now. We're going to start uncovering what a bar looks like. Anti-bias, anti-racist. We're going to uncover what that looks like. We're going to start uncovering a lot of things so that we can keep moving that needle one notch at a time. All right, you guys, I appreciate your listening. I appreciate you taking the time to really contemplate if this is part of what you need to do. So I look forward to getting some comments. I look forward to seeing what it is that your truth is. All right, until next month, we'll talk to you then. Everybody be blessed, and we'll talk to you soon.